up. We feel their pain. The truth is out. The case is closed. But our search for justice never slows.
Hey everyone, how are you? Happy Monday. This Monday went by very fast for me, I will say. But I'm really getting sick of the rain. It rained all morning, and we're supposed to get storms later tonight and rain all day tomorrow. So it is. I was just telling the kids at school today, like normally when it rains, it's kind of like, oh, yay, there's kind of like just sit around, kind of relax, maybe sleep in. But now it's like it rains so much, it's not fun. It's not fun. Oh, you're having internet issues, Pook? All right, so I saw Ninja was here very early this morning. Team Brit was here. I actually was thinking of Team Brittany last night, and I meant to email you, Team Brit, and I totally didn't. I hope you are well. Pookie, as always. Legally Blonde, thanks for being here. Truth Seeker, I hope you're doing well. You're listening. Oh, you're going to get a CAT scan? Oh, boy. I hope things... Oh, you're sad I have a lost package from Michael Kors? Oh, no. Did you... that's happened to me with packages. They deliver to the wrong address. Honestly, I think with some of the things, I think that there are people doing it on purpose. They will deliver it to somebody's house that they know, if they know what it is, but that's just my opinion. All right, so as I was going live, I think I might have told everyone I was going live today at 4:30 Eastern time, and that's what I had in my head. And then when I looked at StreamYard, I'm like, oh crap, I scheduled it for 4:15. I don't know why I did that. I always go live during the week at 4:30. So I don't know. For some reason, I put 4:15. But with that being said, as I was going through the slides, I thought we would be able to finish this up today. However, much of the clips that I have for today are much longer than the clips from yesterday. So my goal today is to get through the rest of the testimony that I was able to find, closing arguments, and the verdict. Tomorrow, I've already scheduled part 3, and I made sure it was at 4:30 Eastern. We will go over some things that happened after the verdict. One of the jurors did speak out to media, so we'll take a listen to that. And then the family members of the 5 girls held a press conference after the verdict. So we'll do that tomorrow, and then I'll add some updates. One thing, oh, Pookie, you're here. I don't know if you saw my message to you. And I just saw Lunatic come in. The zebra that was on the loose has been captured. It was airlifted to a waiting horse trailer, and it is being returned to its owner. So the zebra is safe. Hopefully the owner will be a little more careful with fencing, things like that. But I did see that right before I came live, so I wanted to mention that real quick. Yes. Oh no, Pookie. Mateo is acting like he doesn't feel good and he smells like oil. Oh no. Oh, speaking of, one other story I'll tell you before we get started. This morning when I left, I have a wood pile in my backyard, and as I was leaving for work, I was like, is that a cat on top of the wood pile? And it was hard to see because it's pretty far away. Well, then I saw it moving. I was like, oh my gosh, it is one of the kittens from this past fall that I thought was pregnant. I have a feeling the reason I haven't seen this little cat is because she had her babies in the woodpile. So I am going to be watching very closely, because if I start to see kittens climbing on the woodpile, I will be trapping them and getting them off the street. All right, so we're going to get started though, because we will probably be, I'm going to say, about 3 hours. I tried to find a way to kind of break it up, but I think getting to the verdict is important, especially going through the testimony and closing arguments. So I would say 3 hours. The only testimony I was not able to find was the brother, Derrick's brother. So we just have a little news clip about that, but we're going to get started. If I missed anyone, thank you for being here. I do appreciate it. And I don't see Sinner. I wonder if Sinner thought it was at 4:32. 1 second. I think I told him 4:32. All right. Oh, there's Sinner. No, that's the first time I saw you. Let me just go through. No, I didn't see you before. Okay, well, I'm glad you're here. I thought maybe I told you the wrong time too, like I told everybody yesterday. All right, let me get over here. So we're going to start out with body cam footage, different perspectives than we saw yesterday. And then we get into traffic cameras and those types of things. Brother testimony, closing arguments, verdict. That is the plan. Oh, you've been commenting. I didn't see any of your comments in StreamYard. I haven't looked at my phone, which I probably should from now on. All right, so I will mute during the clips and then we'll kind of talk in between.
Please step up to the witness stand, and then remain standing. And please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat. There's water there if you want any. Make sure to use the microphone when testifying. And when you're situated, please say and then spell your name for the record.
Officer Damon, D-A-M-O-N.
Your first name, please.
Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y.
Thank you. Ms. Starkey?
Good morning, officer, and thank you for rushing here. We appreciate your willingness to be flexible. Officer, can you let the jury know what it is you do for a job?
I'm a police officer that works for the 3rd Precinct, and I'm a patrol officer.
What police department?
Minneapolis Police Department.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
Approximately 7 years.
Have all those years been with MPD?
Yes.
And what kind of education and special training did you have before you began with MPD?
I have my bachelor's in law enforcement at Mankato State, and then skills program through Hibbing Community College.
And since joining Minneapolis Police, have you been on a patrol assignment the entire time, or have you had other assignments?
A patrol assignment.
As a practical matter, what does that mean in terms of how you spend your time on a given shift?
I usually will be either the driver or the passenger in a squad car where we take and answer 911 calls.
You said the 3rd Precinct, is that right?
Yes.
And remind us where in the city that is.
It's technically downtown right now. I believe it's 3009 2nd Avenue South is the address.
Oh, and I asked that in a very inarticulate way. I just meant what area of the city does the 3rd precinct include?
Oh, sorry. It includes everything south of 94, everything west of the river, everything north of Highway 62, and everything east of 35W.
All right. Officer Damon, I want to draw your attention back to June 16th of 2023. On that evening, were you working as a Minneapolis police officer on patrol?
Yes.
And what shift were you working?
3rd Precinct Middle Watch.
And what's middle watch?
It's 1,600 hours, so 4 p.m. to 0200, so 2 a.m.
Okay. All right. So, were you working alone or with a partner?
With a partner,
Who is that partner?
Officer Rachel Batnich.
And were the two of you dressed as you are today in a full uniform,
Yes.
in a marked Minneapolis patrol squad?
Yes.
And I guess partway through your shift, I guess, at a little after 10 p.m., did you and Officer Batnich respond to an area in the, near Lake Street and I-35W?
Yes.
What did you know about the incident when you responded?
Initially, it was pretty hectic. It came out as, I believe, a help call for State Patrol, as there was gunshots that had been shot in the area. And then once we got there, then it kind of progressed into a car accident, and we weren't exactly 100% sure what was going on. It was very chaotic.
Is that sometimes the practical reality of responding to kind of an ongoing incident as a patrol officer?
Yes, especially with multiple agencies involved.
Okay. How does that complicate the communication?
They use different channels than us. So sometimes if they haven't, dispatch has not blended our channels together yet, we'll have a lot of missing information that we won't initially know right away, or possibly later on. And then it's also hard to recognize as our channel is also shared with another precinct. So you have to hear who's calling out their name or their squad assignment, because you could be taking information that's unrelated to what you're going to.
Okay. And so does that mean that in addition to, I guess, trying to communicate by radio, you're also going to be trying to communicate on the scene between officers and between agencies?
Yes.
When you arrived, what did you observe?
I believe initially we arrived at Taco Bell because we were told that the possible suspect that was involved would fled in that area, which is when we arrived on scene.
Did you even know what the suspect was suspected of doing at that point? Was that even clear?
Not really clear, no. I just knew what the person was supposed to be wearing.
What do you remember about the description?
It was supposed to be a black male with dreads. He would have had blonde tips, so to say, and they referred to it as tan pants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or brown pants?
Brown
Is that something
pants.
you remember? Okay. Were you and other officers engaged in looking in the area for the suspect, in addition to kind of trying to clear civilians out of the scene?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time?
Were you and other officers, in addition to looking for the suspect, engaged also in trying to secure the scene, clearing civilians out of the scene, things like that?
Correct.
Did you see that there had been a pretty significant car crash?
Not at that point, no.
Oh, okay. So even when you got there, you weren't able to even observe the crash?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And do you recall why you went to the Taco Bell parking lot in particular? Was there some information that led you to that direction?
We were notified that the suspect had fled to, or in the area of Taco Bell.
Was it just you, or were other MPD officers going that direction as well?
Other officers as well.
All right. In the Taco Bell parking lot, were you nearby or present when Officer Lewis Beatty identified a person who appeared to have some injuries?
Yes.
And while you were on duty that night, were you equipped with a body camera?
Yes.
Do you have that on your uniform right now?
No, I didn't want it to accidentally turn on.
Fair enough, okay. I thought if you did, we could show just where it is, just because we haven't had an officer come in with it yet.
Oh.
Is it typically during your shift, is it secured kind of mid-chest like other officers?
Yes.
Was your body camera recording on this evening?
Yes.
And have you had a chance at some point between that date and now, on a number of occasions, to review the recording from your body-worn camera?
Yes.
Did your body-worn camera accurately capture the things that occurred on the scene that night?
I believe so.
Okay. And have you had a chance prior to testifying to take a look at 4 portions of your body-worn camera recording that captured different portions of your response to this call?
Yes.
So beginning with what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 11, if we may show the witness.
She can see it.
All right. Officer Damon, do you recognize this kind of first frame as the first clip of body camera from your body cam?
Yes.
And I think you indicated, but does this portion, this clip, accurately capture some of the events that occurred, I guess, from your vantage point in the Taco Bell parking lot?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would offer Exhibit 11.
No objection.
Exhibit 11 is received.
May I publish?
You may.
All right, so before I play, Officer Damon, can you orient our viewpoint here? What is the building off to on the right-hand side of the screen?
That is the Taco Bell.
All right, and off to the left side of the screen, what do we see?
A few officers with 3 civilians sitting and standing next to them.
And what is the time and date noted on your body camera here?
6/16/2023 at 22 hours.
Is that about 10:22 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, playing now.
Sounds good. Let's go ahead and get everybody that's not either 5s or 3s can return to your precinct. We're going to try to clean this intersection up. This has code for us. Code for 2222.
He literally has blood on his face.
So that's why we
It's you, bro. You've been here a hot minute.
I've been here a hot minute, bro.
You literally are sweating. You
I
have
know.
blood on your face.
I just got harassed by the police. I just gave y'all my ID. I took a picture of me and everything.
I understand. Can you have a seat for me?
Yes, sir.
Sit down.
I was sleeping all that, sir. Y'all told me to stand up.
So why are you blood on your face then?
I told you, I bust my shit right there on 5th and Lake. Got damn out of it.
You were
Literally.
running?
Was I running? No.
311 states requesting K9 at Lake seconds.
So, I guess, how did you bust your face?
I tripped over a fucking log like this right there behind them. How do they have fucking parking spots like this? I tripped over it and I fucking
continue to
fell.
perimeter for any reason.
I want to have the safety code back on.
Hold on.
All right. Thank you. Is that the portion of your body cam where you are personally interacting with the man who's being detained?
Yes.
And was that individual identified by other officers at some point as Derrick Thompson?
Yes.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And is he seated over here to my left with the blue button-up shirt?
Yes.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant?
It shall.
Was Mr. Thompson, from about that point that we just watched, detained in the Taco Bell parking lot for a bit?
I believe so.
Okay. And do you know what the purpose was, what you all were waiting for at that point? Or was that still kind of an evolving situation?
I would say that's both, due to, I think we were trying to figure out what the State Patrol was doing, because it was their 911 call. So I think we were just waiting to figure out what was going on.
Okay. At some point, was the defendant placed in the back of your squad car?
Yes.
And why was that?
At that point, we had identified him as someone that was involved in the car accident.
And I guess when he was detained in your squad car, was it to take him to another location and conduct a particular procedure?
Yes. It's called a show up. So what we do is someone that had seen the incident happen, where they could prove that the suspect had left that area. We bring the suspect to that witness. We don't allow the suspect to see the witness for obvious safety reasons. And then we have the suspect get out of the car, present him in front of the, the car camera, the lights, do a 360, and need to confirm yes or no if this is the person that they saw that was ran away from the incident.
And so, were you involved in identifying that witness and taking a statement from that witness or anything like that?
I don't believe I was involved for the witness. I just had brought him out to, do the show up to present him the 360 visual.
Approximately where was your squad car when the defendant was placed in your squad, and where did you go for the show up?
I would say it was all about a 2 to 3 block radius, and we were at Taco Bell, and I think we walked maybe 50 yards into my squad car, and I don't even think my squad car moved. I don't believe in the witness what was brought to me.
Okay. And Officer Demon, were you the one who brought the defendant out of the squad car to be to kind of stand there and be viewed by the witness in the other squad car?
Yes.
And was that portion of the call captured on your body-worn camera as well?
Yes.
Can you see what's been marked as Exhibit 12?
Yes.
And is this the sort of first frame of the portion of your body camera that captures that show up procedure?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state offers Exhibit 12.
No objection.
Exhibit 12 is received.
Thank you. May I publish?
You may.
Yeah. What was that? We're working on it right now. It's obviously kind of a hot mess. So just a few more minutes if you don't mind. You feel the AC now? Okay. All right, perfect. Let me know when they're ready.
Cut the headlights. It's fine.
Yeah. It is turned off. Good? Are they ready? Yeah, sorting a show up. Yep. And obviously with the lights so that you can't see who the witness is. Yep. And basically spin them around. Good? Alright. Now you step out. Oh, wrong way.
Yeah, it is gonna be hard with these handcuffs.
Yeah, I hear you. Want some help with your feet?
Nah, it's just hard to get out there with these handcuffs. You gotta scoop. Look.
What do you got here?
Nah, my handcuffs.
Yep.
Can you tell these people that this is not me?
That's not my job. All right, buddy, walk forward, please. Keep walking. We'll go to the front of the squad car. Let me know when
Tell them that this
Let me
is
know
not
when
me.
to turn.
Please tell them that this is not me. I'm 6'5". It's not hard for me to be mixed. I am 6'5". It's not hard for me to be mixed. My hair is not blonde. My hair is red. Can you please tell them that this is not me?
They want me to turn again? Face this way still? Forward?
Again. Me again. Can you please tell them that this is not me? Thank you. Ooh. What? Thank you.
Yeah, for 8143.
Go back in.
Whoever's at 28, this Steven can open up southbound traffic. Lake and Nicholas.
So to begin with, Officer Damon, at the very beginning of that clip, I believe we hear kind of a buzz sound as that clip begins. Is that a function of the body-worn camera when it's recording?
Yes.
Okay. It kind of vibrates at regular intervals?
Yes.
Okay. As Mr. Thompson was, or I guess as you were asking Mr. Thompson to get out of the squad car, did he seem to have any physical trouble doing so?
Yes.
And what do you recall him saying about why he was having trouble getting out?
I think he blamed it on his toe, but it was clear that he was in a lot more pain than just his toe, and that he was struggling to get out to basically adjust his hips and legs.
And at that initial point, as he's getting out of the squad car to begin with, do you recall him referencing the handcuffs being the problem?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you answered this a minute ago. Did the handcuffs appear to be the issue?
No.
Okay. And in terms of once Mr. Thompson was out of the vehicle, there's, I think your body camera captures some of this, but in terms of Mr. Thompson being out of the vehicle, were you able to observe how he was able to physically move around once he was standing up?
Yes.
And what did you observe?
That he had trouble walking. He needed, as you saw, assistance by State Patrol to stand up from the vehicle. And then it was very small steps to get to the front of the squad and then go back into the squad.
Okay. One second. At some point shortly after this clip ends, did Mr. Thompson say to you, "Please don't have me out here all night"?
Yes.
Shortly after that, did you receive word from the officers, the other MPD officers who were with the witness, about whether Mr. Thompson was going to be released or continue to be detained?
Yes.
And what did you learn?
That he would be detained.
Okay, and did you advise Mr. Thompson at that point that he was going to be under arrest?
Yes.
Do you remember where Mr. Thompson was when you told him that?
I believe it was when he was in the back of the squad car.
And immediately after you advised him that he was under arrest, did Mr. Thompson make a request for medical attention?
Yes.
Prior to that point, had he declined medical attention?
I do not recall.
Okay, fair enough. Once he made that request, did you need to wait right there for emergency medical services to show up and take a look at him?
Yes.
As you were waiting, did Mr. Thompson initiate, I guess, verbal contact with you and ask if you could make a phone call for him?
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Why?
Just being kind.
Okay. And what phone did you use, if you recall?
It would have been my work cell phone.
And how did you make the call for him if he was in the squad car, presumably in handcuffs?
I just assisted with dialing the phone number and I put it on speaker so he could speak to whoever he wanted to.
And you didn't speak to that person, is that fair?
Well, I'm sorry, say that again?
You didn't speak to the person that you called directly?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but it would have been a Minneapolis work cell phone that called her?
Yes.
All right. Was that portion of the incident captured on your body cam as well?
Yes.
And are you able to see what's been marked for identification as Exhibit 13?
Yes.
And does this appear to be the beginning of the clip where Mr. Thompson makes that request for a phone call and you oblige him and dial the number for him?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state offers Exhibit 13.
No objection.
Exhibit 13 is received.
May I publish?
You may.
So to begin with, Officer Damon, what's our timestamp here? I think I forgot to ask about the last one, but we'll just reorient here. What's our time here?
23:03, so 11:03.
Okay. Playing now.
Could you possibly make a phone call or text message or something?
Sure. Do you know the phone number?
Yeah, 651-246.
Hold on one second. 651-246.
5523.
5523.
333. Can you put a call in pending priority 9 for Squad A at Lake Street and 2nd Avenue South, please? Already got it done. It's in there for you.
Babe,
Oh, yes.
babe, they taking me to jail for homicide.
I'm out here. Where are you at?
I'm in a police car.
I know, but
I'm right here next to the motherfucking McDonald's, but they said they take me to jail for homicide.
why?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. They said it was an accident at first, but then she said it was some shots fired, and then now they saying that it's a homicide. So I'm just trying to. She getting updates just like I'm getting updates. So we really, it's a lot going on right now.
EMS is here, by the way.
And yeah, EMS here, so I'm finna get in this.
Where's my car?
Your car.
He's here.
Your car, my brother.
Okay, I'll still have it. Babe,
Yeah,
I love you.
love you more.
Oh my gosh, babe.
Just trying to think if there's anything that I want to follow up on with that. So as that clip ends, Officer Damon, you indicated to the defendant that EMS was here. Is that right?
Yes.
So had your squad stayed where you were for the show up and EMS came to you?
Yes.
Okay. EMS meaning what?
Paramedics.
Ambulance?
Ambulance, yep.
Okay. And did EMS come to the squad and speak to you and Mr. Thompson and assess him?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Thompson indicate to emergency medical services that he needed to go to the hospital because he needed an x-ray?
I don't recall.
I may come back to that one. Ultimately, was Mr. Thompson taken by emergency medical services to the ambulance?
Yes.
So when a person is in police custody, but they need medical attention, they need to go in an ambulance, what do you do?
We will go with the ambulance rig to the hospital and then sit with the arrested party.
Okay. In this particular case, was it you who went with Mr. Thompson in the ambulance to the hospital?
Yes.
As you were in the ambulance with Mr. Thompson, was there discussion between paramedics about what injury he may or may not have and what the cause was?
Yes.
And were you present when EMS had some verbal interaction or attempted verbal interaction with Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
And was that portion of your response to this call captured on body cam as well?
Yes.
So turning, officer, your attention to Exhibit 14, does that appear to be the beginning of the portion of your body camera that captures what happened in the ambulance?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would offer Exhibit 14.
No objection.
Exhibit 14 is received.
May I publish?
You may.
Okay. So what is the timestamp associated with the beginning of this clip, officer?
23:14, so 11:14.
How are you situated in the ambulance such that you have this view? Where's the front and back?
So we're in the back of the ambulance and there's a bench on both sides, and I'm sitting on one of the benches. If I'm basically how I'm sitting right now, I'm sitting on a bench. There'll be like a chair or captain chair on my right, and the other paramedic is sitting on the other bench while treating Mr. Thompson.
Okay, and is Mr. Thompson the person we see reclined in the middle of the screen?
Yes.
And then the individual, it looks like with their head down in a dark blue shirt, is that one of the paramedics?
Yes.
I'll play now.
So, the mechanism, which was David. Oh yeah. This is I can put it in, but it's okay. And then I took a couple pictures. So it sounds like he was going 90 plus down the freeway. Can I have a 4x4? Yeah. Exited, ran the red, and ran through them. Okay. So pretty good sweeps. All right. And then obviously obliterated the other one. I can't reach that. Can you hand me that computer down there?
Keila, do you want a collar or anything?
I think at this point I think if we were going to have a neck injury, I think we would have already had it.
Oh, just checking.
Is your neck hurt, man? Nah. Alright, yeah, we're not.
434 Minneapolis, Cedar Avenue, 37th. Go 3, please, fire, yeah.
Is this swelling over here, or is that just the...
This is swollen,
Okay.
but that's because we crashed into it. So I wouldn't. Was that witness the fall?
No, they saw him running from the car.
Just to see if the injuries are actually from the fall or from the car. Should I call her in? They're gonna probably do it, but...
I would say based off the mechanism, you did have shroud, airbags and everything. Were you wearing your seatbelt, boss?
Hey, buddy. You and your 10 out of 10 pain, I need you to wake up for me.
Hey, were you wearing your seatbelt tonight?
424 downtown.
No, man. Okay, yeah, collar.
Alright. Yeah. So they said, I don't know what you guys said. Ryan was saying that when they got there, he was like sitting out on a light pole. So he had taken himself out of the car.
Oh yeah, I found him at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Parking lot here.
Okay. But all airbags were deployed. You can see the pictures. That's him.
428 photograph, Larry Banks crash.
You coming back?
Yeah. So this black one is his. Yep, you're the only one who's the driver. Okay. Oh, did I just step on your hand? No? Alright. That's a red tattoo.
We're not going to assume to say we weren't wearing a seatbelt.
Sir, put a collar on your neck here, okay? Pull your hair up a little bit. Rest of your head back. All right. Breathe okay with that? Yeah?
Feels
Not too tight?
No, it looks even. It doesn't feel too tight. Can you smile for me? Show me your teeth. I guess your chompers. There you go. Stick your tongue out. I know it's kind of hard. There you go.
That's good.
Yeah.
Officer Damon, in terms of the time that you spent with the defendant between when you encountered him at Taco Bell and up to the point when EMS arrived, did he appear able and willing to speak verbally to you?
Yes.
Was he initiating conversation and asking you questions verbally?
Yes.
Responding to you when you were directing him to do certain things?
Yes.
Did you notice any change in terms of his responsiveness once, I guess, once he was advised he was under arrest and EMS was called?
Yes.
What was the difference?
He appeared to be, I guess, not responding, as in almost sleepy.
How sudden or how, I guess, abrupt was that change in your observation?
I would say 30 seconds.
Okay. Toward the, if I may play just the beginning of that clip one more time to ask you a specific question.
I'll share it when you've got it rewound.
It should be. Yeah, it's at the beginning.
Mechanism. But yeah.
Let me try this one.
So, the mechanism. But yeah. How they save him. Oh yeah. This is.
So that first couple seconds is what I was trying to get. Do you have an objection or are you good?
No.
Okay. Okay. And what I was trying to cover there, officer, was did you hear the word mechanism said by one of the paramedics?
Yes.
Okay, based on your experience in this context, what was the word mechanism referring to?
I believe a vehicle.
Okay, so like the cause of any injury?
Yes.
Okay. At any point, while you were with Mr. Thompson in the ambulance and at the hospital, did you hear him say, I wasn't in a car accident?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did he, when there was discussion about a seatbelt or a crash, did he ever disagree with that?
No.
Did you ever hear him provide a different explanation for his injuries to medical personnel?
I don't recall.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Officer Damon. That's all I have for you.
Mr. Bliss?
I have no questions for this witness.
You may step down. Thank you.
Interesting. The defense had no questions for the officer. All right, so that was interesting. And when the paramedic had mentioned that he was not wearing a seatbelt, I am shocked that he was not ejected with the amount of force in that collision. And the fact that he was able to get out of the car and run away, I mean, it's so angering because 5 girls are dead and he got to walk away from it. It's crazy. Okay, so the next clip is to do with traffic cameras, and I do want to give a trigger warning, viewer discretion advised, because they do replay the accident video cam. As it's coming up, I will put in chat that the the collision is upcoming.
Now, there was a vehicle that came through the camera right at the very end of that clip. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Which vehicle was that?
That'd be the Cadillac that was involved in the crash.
Now, oops. Pausing the video now, 51 seconds in. Did we see the Escalade drive through the area just a moment ago?
Yes, we did.
Did it appear that there was a collision off at the top right corner of the screen?
Yes, there was.
Can you tell from this image what the light was on 2nd Avenue as you're entering the intersection with Lake Street?
It appears to be red.
Now, I also want to draw your attention to the top right of the screen. It looks like there's a timestamp of 9:11 p.m. Does that appear to be a correct timestamp to you?
Not for when the time of the crash occurred.
Is it your understanding that the time of the crash was about 10:11 p.m.?
Yes, it was.
Why would the timestamp be about an hour off?
It could be from whoever owns the camera system. They haven't adjusted properly for daylight savings time with that 1 hour difference.
So it's your understanding that this video would have been taken at 10:11 p.m. approximately?
Yes, correct.
Play the rest of the clip now. Sergeant, you also pointed out Sabry Properties on that map just a moment ago. Do you recall that?
Yes.
So that would be just another building down closer to the intersection with Lake Street, correct?
Correct.
Now publish Exhibit 124. In that image, in that clip, did we just see the Escalade traveling down 2nd Avenue towards Lake Street?
Yes, we did.
Now publishing Exhibit 125, another image from Sabry Properties. In this video clip, Sergeant Geiger, do we see the McDonald's on the right of the screen, as well as the actual intersection of 2nd Avenue South and East Lake Street?
Yes, we do.
And are we going to see the crash itself on this video clip?
Yes, you'll see the crash occur towards the left center bottom part of the screen in the intersection.
As we watch this video, are you able to see significant vehicle and pedestrian travel through the area?
Yes, I see lots of vehicle and pedestrian traffic, which is typical for that time of the night in that area.
And as you observe the traffic lights at both sides of the intersection, do they appear to be functioning properly?
Yes, they do.
Sergeant, in that video clip, Exhibit 125, did we see the crash itself occur?
Yes, we did.
And just prior to that crash, did you observe the driving behavior of the Honda Civic?
Yes.
Did it appear to be traveling according to the posted speed limit in the area?
Yes, it appeared to be traveling the same speed and like all the other vehicles that were before it.
Did it appear to enter the intersection on a green light?
Yes, into the intersection on a green traffic signal.
Did the Cadillac Escalade appear to be moving at a very high rate of speed?
It was moving at an extremely high rate of speed for the speed limits in that area.
And did it enter the intersection against a red light?
Yes, it did.
I have just two more clips to show you, Sergeant Geiger. You said that you also watched some Metro Transit video, is that correct?
That is correct.
And do these video clips that we're about to see, Exhibits 132 and 133, do they show the patterns, the cycling of the traffic lights at the intersection?
Yes, that what you can see for the lights, they do show the traffic signals.
And do they also show the crash itself, but from a different angle?
Yes, these are both taken from the bus station or the bus stops underneath the freeway of 35W.
And the timestamp here at the bottom indicates that the video is beginning at 10:10 and 1 second p.m. Is that right?
That's correct.
I'll play that now. Pausing the video at timestamp 10, 11, and 3 seconds, did we just see the crash itself?
Yes, we did.
Did you observe any near collision with any other vehicles close to this intersection?
There's another vehicle coming in the eastbound direction that just missed getting struck by the Cadillac.
I'll rewind the video slightly back 20 seconds or so. Was the vehicle that was nearly struck just entering the intersection from the side where this camera is located?
Yes.
And the Escalade passes right in front of it?
Correct.
And that occurs immediately before the Escalade crashes into the Honda Civic?
Correct.
Right, this last clip, Sergeant, is also a Metro Transit clip, is that correct?
Correct.
This would just be from the other side of the bus stop at Lake Street?
Yes, this would be taken from the north side or the westbound traffic lane.
And essentially, we are underneath the 35W overpass right now, looking towards the intersection with 2nd Avenue. Is that right?
That is correct.
Again, from this angle, are you able to see the traffic lights at this specific intersection where the crash occurred?
Yes, you can see the eastbound traffic signals.
And it appears to be functioning properly?
Yes, they do.
Do we also see a pedestrian walking down the road towards the camera at this point in time?
Yes,
And again, that wouldn't be unusual given that this was a bus stop?
correct. That's not unusual in this area.
Did we just see the crash occur moments ago?
Yes, we did.
And again, you can see from this angle that the light on Lake Street is green, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. We can take down the screen now. Sergeant, you also testified previously that you were able to review the squad camera video from Trooper Guerra. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in that video, were you able to see what color the light was on northbound 2nd Avenue at the intersection with Lake Street when the Escalade entered the intersection?
Yes, I could.
What color was it?
That was be red.
Now I want to move on from the video review work that you did. Did you conduct any forensic mapping of the area?
Yes, map the roadway and of 2nd Avenue and the crash evidence.
What is forensic mapping?
Forensic mapping is when we use either our drones or forensic mapping equipment similar to surveyor's equipment, and we map the evidence at the roadway and the intersection or road design.
And what specifically do you do with the tools to be able to map it out forensically?
So with the drones, we fly a pre-positioned flight pattern over the roadway with overlapping photographs. We put that into photogrammetry software to get a scale diagram rendered. And if we're using our surveying type equipment, we have, through that equipment, we use a total station that shoots infrared laser to a prism. It's attached to a pole, and then I have a data collector. And I'll put in whatever point is in there for like if it's a gouge or a tire mark or a vehicle or a curb. I'll put that point in, and then wherever that prism is positioned, we'll grab that point. That also helps us with diagramming and documenting evidence at night and issues we can't use the drones.
So is this all data that you collect and you use in your overall calculations for speed and other factors like that?
Yes, we use this data to determine our pre and post impact angles and also speeds of the vehicles.
Are you also able to get any data from the vehicles themselves to learn more about what could have caused or led to the crash?
Yes, we can.
Do all vehicles contain that type of data?
Most vehicles operated in the U.S. market do contain data.
And what kind of data do they typically include?
Through that data, it would be speed, brake on or off, ABS activity, crash pulses, steering, ABS activity. And the more newer vehicles, the more data we'll get.
Where is all this data stored in a vehicle?
It's stored in sensing diagnostic module, airbag control module. Some of the newer vehicles have active safety control modules, front camera modules, and more.
Are all of these modules what people sometimes refer to as like a black box?
Yes, similar concept to a black box in airplane, but for your vehicle.
Are the modules always in the same place in every car?
They're generally in the same general locations of the vehicle.
How do you go about retrieving data from a module inside of a vehicle?
Modules inside the vehicle, I can plug our software into it's called the OBD2 port, or you have the check engine light, and your mechanic plugs into your car to tell you what's wrong with the car. I can plug into that same port and image the module that way. If we can't get that image that way, we can remove the module and put a specific cable to the module and then image it that way as well.
Is there a specific module referred to as the airbag control module?
Yes.
Were you able to retrieve the airbag control module data from either of the vehicles involved in this crash?
Yes, I was able to retrieve the data from both the Honda and the Cadillac from the airbag control module.
Is there also a module called the active safety control module?
Yes.
And were you able to retrieve data from that module for either of the vehicles involved in the crash?
Yes, that specific module is just in the Cadillac. We were able to retrieve the data from that module as well.
And was that with the assistance of Sergeant Brum?
Yes, it was.
And what did he have to do to get that data in this instance?
The active safety control module, he was unable to image it from the vehicle. So he removed the module. And then I went to a dealership that was close to our office, and we put that module into an exemplar or a similar vehicle. In this case, it was a GMC Yukon. And we plugged my module into that computer system of that vehicle, and we're able to image the module that way.
So you were able to collect this data and use it in the calculations and the conclusions of your crash reconstruction?
Yes.
Did you also conduct a post-crash vehicle inspection on both the Honda Civic and the Cadillac Escalade involved in the crash?
Yes.
What's involved in this type of inspection?
What I'm doing is I'm looking at the vehicle, documenting the damage to the vehicle, airbags, tires, seatbelt usage, or the airbags, what airbags deployed or didn't deploy. Then we look at the overall vehicle, seeing if we can determine if damage is pre or post impact, and if there's any obvious mechanical issues with the vehicle.
Did you observe any mechanical defects that could have contributed to the crash in this case?
No.
Nothing in either of the two vehicles?
Correct, nothing in either two vehicles.
Did you make any efforts to determine whether or not there was an active safety recall for either of the vehicles?
Yes.
What did you do?
I run the VINs through Carfax, get the Carfax report to see if the vehicles are involved in any previous collisions, and if any recall or manufacturer's issues were noted to Carfax.
And did you learn of any information that could have contributed to this crash?
I determined that both vehicles had no active recalls at the time, and the Cadillac had an active manufacturer's message about a trailer towing brake, but wouldn't have been a factor in this crash because it wasn't towing a trailer.
So there was a recall on the Escalade, but it only would have affected the vehicle if it had been towing something?
Correct. There would have been something with trailer brakes on that vehicle, that system.
Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 111 has been accepted.
No objection. Oh.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, reviewing Exhibit 111 right now. Does this appear to be the Cadillac Escalade involved in this crash?
Yes, this would be a front picture of the damage to the Cadillac Escalade.
Did you take this photograph as a part of your post-crash inspection?
Yes.
And what specifically can we note about the vehicle damage that's seen here?
It's mostly to the front end of the vehicle, the whole front end pushed rearward towards the passenger compartment.
And is this type of damage consistent with the type of crash that you observed in the video?
Yes, it was.
Exhibit 112, what are we seeing in this image?
Looking at the passenger rear corner of the Cadillac.
And what can you tell us about the damage visible in this photo?
You can see that the passenger rear wheel assembly is damaged. There's damage to the entire side and the back of the vehicle, and that the back passenger corner is pressed downward, indicating that the vehicle did roll after impact.
Moving to Exhibit 113, is this a photograph of the Honda Civic taken at the crash scene itself?
Yes, it is.
And what can you tell about the damage to the vehicle from this photograph?
I can tell this vehicle took a severe impact to the driver's side of the vehicle from a larger object.
And that's consistent with the video of the crash that you were able to review?
Yes, it was.
Exhibit 114, is this now the Honda Civic back at the tow yard away from the crash scene?
Yes, it was.
What do we see as far as damage to the vehicle in this image?
See extensive damage to the driver's side, showing some of how far the driver's side was pushed into the passenger compartment.
And so from this image, you're actually able to tell that the side of the vehicle was pushed into the vehicle itself?
Yes, it was.
And would that be into the area where occupants were seated at the time of the crash?
Yes, it would.
Wow. I have no words. All right, so the next clip is just discussing when Mr. Thompson's brother testified, because remember, Mr. Thompson claimed that just before his trial was to start, that he wasn't driving, his brother was. The brother that he apparently told the woman he called to call for him.
So we want to begin in Minneapolis, where the trial of Derrick Thompson is almost at its end now. Thompson is accused of crashing and killing 5 young women 2 years ago.
And now in its 5th day, prosecutors wrapped up their case. Then the defense rested without calling one single witness. Rob Olson was in court for all of it.
Thompson's only defense in his murder trial has been to blame his brother, claiming it was DeMarco driving the rented Escalade clocked at 95 miles an hour that blew a red light on Lake Street and slammed into a Honda Accord, killing 5 young women inside. The surprise final witness was Derrick's brother, ordered to testify by the judge. He declined to be on camera. At any point he was asked by a prosecutor, "Did you drive the Escalade that night?" No. In videos shown to the jury, Derrick and DeMarco Thompson are seen arriving together at the MSP Airport car rental in their mom's Dodge Challenger. Derrick, in white, goes in to rent the Cadillac. DeMarco, in the blue hat, testified he just went to the bathroom. When they leave, Derrick is seen driving the rented Escalade, DeMarco right behind him in their mom's Challenger, and he testified they then went to a nearby park so Derrick could get things out of the car. He grabbed some clothes, and then we were talking about an outfit, and I told him the hat would go nice with the outfit. What hat, he was asked? My blue hat. It was DeMarco's hat that was found in the Escalade after the crash, along with the Challenger keys, which is one way the defense has argued that DeMarco could have been the driver. DeMarco testified they both had a set of keys to Mom's car.
Please tell them that this is not me.
He also testified that Derrick drove the SUV. There was nobody else with him, which lines up with the eyewitness at the scene. But on cross-exam, Derrick Thompson's defense again hoped to pin it on the brother, asking point blank, "And you were in the car when the accident happened. That's why your hat and keys were in the vehicle." DeMarco replied no, and his testimony was over.
After DeMarco was done testifying, the prosecution rested, the defense rested without calling a single witness. There was one other witness on the stand earlier in the day, and that was sister, one of the victims. More family testimony giving that spark of life and the emotional impact here. Jurors were told to come back at 9 a.m. on Thursday for closing arguments, and then they will get the case to deliberate. In Minneapolis, Rob Olson, Fox 9.
So even after showing that DeMarco was not driving the Escalade, that it was indeed Derrick when they left, the defense still tried to pin it on his brother. What kind of brother does that? Not a very good one. Not a very good one. Okay, so we are going to get into closing arguments. This is the longest part. The prosecution closing is about 50 minutes. The defense is about 40 minutes. So we're going to do that. And then the verdict is about 12 minutes, so not very long. So we'll be here for a little bit. I'm going to hit play, but I am going to take a quick break, and then I will be back. Whoops, I got to change the slide. There we go. All righty.
What happened on June 16th of 2023 at 10:11 p.m. wasn't just a car accident. It wasn't luck or chance that took the lives of Sabrine, Segal, Salma, Siam, and Sarah. It wasn't even the normal dangers associated with driving on the roads. This was murder in the third degree. This was murder because these 5 young women lost their lives as a direct consequence of the reckless, selfish, destructive choices of another driver. Members of the jury, not every murder is calculated or considered. Not every murder is directed at a particular person or people. Under Minnesota law, murder in the third degree means reckless or eminently dangerous conduct, which reflects an indifference to the loss of human life. So what does indifference sound like?
Do you know how long this is going to take?
I don't think it'll be too much longer. We're just trying to coordinate it, so. I'm just waiting to figure it out.
Oh, okay.
So when I know more, I'll let you know, but right now they're just a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, I don't want to be here all night though, you know?
No, I get that. You won't be.
Like, I needed somebody to say it wasn't me, you know, so I can go about my day.
I got that. Yeah, we're just waiting to have people that are going to look at you, kind of get the area. I think that's what we're waiting on at the moment. And then once that happens, they'll just take a look at you. And
Yeah, I know y'all got to clear from running to do all that. I don't want to wait on all that. I see they doing it already, but I do got things I do want to get done on my Friday night, you know? It's been a long day.
Members of the jury, there's no evidence that Derrick Thompson set out that night to kill these 5 young ladies or anybody else. But make no mistake as you consider the evidence. It wasn't whether he was going to take somebody's life. It was who and when. It could have been any of those cars stopped at the light or in the other lane just as he pulls up to the Lake Street exit. It could have been a pedestrian, somebody walking to get food or going to the bus stop. It could have been that minivan that drove into the intersection 1 second later. Instead, it was these 5 spots of light. Derrick Thompson's behavior, his series of choices that night were criminal because they were eminently dangerous to everyone and anyone who happened to be on the road that night. And because of his criminal choices, Sabrine, Sarah, Segal, Salma, and Siam, excuse me, were ripped from their families. Because of his criminal choices, 5 sets of parents broke down and collapsed on the pavement on Lake Street. An 18-year-old kid drove to the medical examiner's office and pounded on the front door, begging for his sister. The defense attorney acknowledged in opening that this was an indisputable tragedy, and I expect he may do the same in closing. But members of the jury, do not let their acknowledgement of the immeasurable scope of this tragedy distract you from the reason you're here. You are not here because 5 families were broken. You're here because the law was broken. Derrick Thompson's behavior, the series of choices he made, broke the law, and the evidence has proven that beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm going to talk to you broadly about 3 things. And when somebody's about to talk at my face, I like to hear a general game plan for what they're going to talk about. So here it is. First, I'm going to go through the video in chronological order. I'm not going to play all of it. I'm just going to hit on the kind of the categories of video and put them in chronological order. In part because they didn't necessarily come into evidence in chronological order, and in part because I'll reference it as I argue the charges in this case. The second thing I'll talk about is the evidence that proves Derrick Thompson was the driver. Because if he was the driver, he is guilty of criminal vehicular homicide without question. And finally, I'll talk a little bit more about what murder in the 3rd degree means and how the evidence fits those elements. So first, going through the video, like I said, just short clips in chronological order. So starting at 9:30, 9:35 or so, the defendant arrives at Hertz. The employee prints that receipt. That's later flutters out of the passenger door when the trooper opens it. Timestamped at 9:46. They go get in the car. Derrick driving the Escalade alone. DeMarco behind him in the Challenger. Note the time, members of the jury, 10:09 p.m. The Escalade appears on that first 35W traffic camera, passing under 5th Street, just coming up to where that trooper is parked. And here he is at 46th. The trooper's waiting under that overpass. He's about to pass him. Now he's just passed the trooper. Members of the jury, you make the decision. Has his driving conduct changed? Does it appear that he's now going faster? Changing lanes? Coming up to the next light, you can see the trooper behind him hasn't gained a lot because at this point, he's got his foot down on the accelerator. And at 35th, you can see him weaving around other vehicles. And you note the trooper who's trying to catch up with him hits his brakes at least once for the safety of other cars and based on the traffic that are on the interstate at that point. And finally, as he gets off the interstate here, crash reconstruction estimates he's going 116 miles an hour as he gets off on that exit. So here he is at that first light. And those lucky individuals who cleared out just in time as he's driving down the center of the road. Now we're between 31st and Lake. Parked cars, other vehicles. Oh,
crash. We are Lake Street. Never light up. Start fire. Start medics. East Lake Street.
East Lake Street, start fire.
Switching to the body cam of Trooper Guerra.
Where'd he go? What? Hey, they took us on the alleyway northbound. Sorry, medics here. We got confirmed 5-4 here. Suspect fled northbound. Suspect's vehicle is John Paul Robert, 235 T-bone at the intersection. Hey, northbound, I think through the alley here, right? What's he wearing? I have no idea. What's he wearing? Hey, what's he wearing? What's he wearing? What's your gray sweater?
Yeah, white.
White or gray sweater? Is it black male?
And he got locked.
White male, black male? Hey, stay away, stay away.
Only takes up a check. Thank you, Jeff.
Bro, was there shooting over there? Go ahead, bro. No, I can't, man. I gotta pick up somebody, bro.
Crosses Lake Street, walking into the Taco Bell parking lot area. So basically those last two videos, the one taken by Mr. Muhammad and this one from the front kind of area of Sabri Properties adjacent to Taco Bell, those basically take you across Lake Street. He's walking into Lake Street in the beginning of Mr. Muhammad's. He's finishing walking across the street here. Note, members of the jury, that as he walks into this area, he turns and looks back. There are multiple members of law enforcement on the scene with their lights on at this point. Is clearly struggling to get much farther by foot, makes the decision basically to try to blend in.
You guys see anybody coming over here? Why are you bleeding? Why are you bleeding?
303.
You serious? Why are you bleeding?
For officers on scene, right now, we're supporting state patrol with that vehicle that
It's an old cut. Old cut? Yeah. Looks pretty fresh.
Third and Lake locked down.
What's your...
Members of the jury, these videos are all in evidence. I'm not going through them in their entirety. As I said, you will have the opportunity to review them as you wish during deliberations. I just want to put that chronology in order, as I said. You'll note here as officers enter into the Taco Bell parking lot, you can kind of cross-reference that with the second Sabri Properties Taco Bell parking lot surveillance video, because that shows the officers walking into the parking lot, so you can kind of cross-reference and confirm time here. So the officers are walking into that parking lot at about 10:20 p.m. As they walk out, Mr. Thompson is sitting on the ground next to a couple of women, trying to blend in. And in fact, when officers asked, "Do you see anybody?" he says, "Oh, the motherfucker ran that way."
intersection out. This has code for us. Code for 2622.
He literally has blood on his face.
So that's why we
It's you, bro. You've been here a hot minute.
I'm in here a hot minute, bro.
You literally are sweating. You have blood on your face.
I just got harassed by the police. I just gave y'all my ID. I took a picture of me and everything. I understand. Yes, sir. I was sleeping all that, sir. Y'all told me to stand up.
So why are you blood on your face then?
I told you, I bust my shit right there on 5th and Lake. Oh, goddamn, I don't.
You were running?
Was I running? No.
311 stays requesting K9 as late 2 seconds.
So, I guess, how did you bust your face?
I tripped over a fucking log like this, right there behind it. How do they have fucking parking spots like this? I tripped over it. I fucking tripped.
So 10 or 11 minutes before, he has virtually cut that Honda Civic in half. The police approach him and he starts complaining immediately about being harassed.
I don't have no fucking blonde dreads.
We have that now.
What we doing, baby? You going real, bro?
333, we're trying to work out a state now. Just hold on to that guy. We'll get someone over to check it out here.
Let's just put him in squad car. Yeah, thank you, please. My dreads is not blind, sir.
We'll check. We'll make sure.
Mark is blind.
Thanks, my man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I understand y'all gotta find somebody, but please don't make me be the guy tonight.
As that video continues, as you can review in deliberations, he visibly struggles to turn and manipulate his body to even sit down in the back of the squad car. And of course, we just heard this one.
Do you know how long this is gonna take?
That's as he's waiting for that show up. And here's the show up.
Yeah, it is gonna be hard with these handcuffs.
Yeah, I hear you. You want some help with your feet?
Nah, it's just hard to get out there with these handcuffs. You got hair? No, my head. Yep. Like, you can tell these people that this is nothing.
That's not my job. All right, buddy, walk forward, please. Keep walking. We'll go in the front of the squad car. Let me know when
Tell them that this
Let
is
me know
not
when
me.
to turn.
Please tell them that this is not me. I'm 6'5". It's not hard for me to be missed. I'm 6'5". It's not hard for me to be missed. My hair is not blonde. My hair is red. Can you please tell them that this is not me? Babe.
Oh, yes.
Babe, they taking me to jail for homicide.
I'm out here. Where are you at?
I'm in a police car.
I don't know.
I'm right here next to the motherfucking McDonald's, but they said they take me to jail for homicide.
Why?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. They said it was an accident at first, but then she said it was some shots fired, and then now they saying that it's a homicide. So I'm just trying. She getting updated just like I'm getting updated. So it's a lot going on right now.
EMS is here, brother.
And EMS here, so I'm finna get in this.
Where's my car?
Your car.
He's here.
My brother.
Were you wearing your seatbelt tonight?
424 down.
Okay, yeah, call it.
Alright. Yeah. So they said, I don't know what you guys said. Ryan was saying that when they got there, he was like sitting out on the light pole. So he like had taken himself out of the car. So that sounds
Oh
like
yeah, I found him at Taco Bell.
Yeah,
In parking
so-
lot here.
Oh.
Hopefully that wasn't too grueling. There is a lot of evidence in this case, but that's approximately the chronology of events. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is the evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant was the driver of that Escalade. I want to be clear, there is no evidence in this case that more than one person was ever driving the Cadillac Escalade on June 16th of 2023. No one saw another driver. There's no video of another driver. This defendant selected and rented that Cadillac under his own name, paid for it with his credit card, and drove it out of the airport. There is no evidence, there is no indication that anyone else was ever planning to drive it, that he planned on having anyone else drive it at any point. As the troopers approach, the driver's door is ajar, as Trooper Garrett testified to. The members of the jury, the other doors in that vehicle were most assuredly not sitting open when the smoke cleared. Those doors were closed. Not only were those doors closed, they were compressed by the crash, and they were difficult for the troopers to open when they went to clear the vehicle.
All right, you guys ready? Yep. Open. Clear. Please, hands up. Back. Clear. Trunk. All right, go ahead, open.
There is no evidence from the crash video that any of those other doors were opened or that anyone else fled from the vehicle. There's no evidence from any of the surrounding videos that anyone else walked through, ran through. The one witness who lives there, who stuck around and spoke to police, was a woman who lives just steps away, who was at her mailbox when she saw this happen, who testified clearly during this trial and told Sergeant Ligneal the same thing clearly. She saw the crash, she saw the roll, she saw the Escalade come to a stop, and she saw one person get out.
50 other cops have talked to you already, but I'm one of the investigators. Hi, and what's your first name?
Dorinda.
Dorinda? Yes. So tell me kind of what you saw tonight.
Well, I heard some people, they're always out there behind the McDonald's garage. And I was watching a movie, and my dad wanted to go out, so I opened the front door. I always keep my back door open, like still, but it's latched, so I always keep my gate locked too. So. But I let my dog out, and I went to go get my mail. As soon as I reached in the mailbox, I heard screech, boom, boom. I saw the SUV come tumbling in front of me.
Okay.
I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? So I kind of froze. The dog was barking. People behind the garage were like, oh shit, oh my God. And I just kind of froze. And I saw the guy like kind of climb out of the car and grab his leg and start running through my neighbors.
Okay. And then, so he came out of the SUV?
Well, I was like trying to grab my dog.
Sure.
But I didn't see him, but yeah, I seen him leaving the SUV. I didn't see him get out.
Okay.
But I seen him like.
And just the one guy?
Just one guy, yeah.
Okay, and then what was he wearing?
The white t-shirt and the kind of gray and green sweatpants.
Okay.
And he had like a beanie cap on too. And
Was he
dreadlocks?
White, black?
Black.
Okay.
Like 6+.
Okay, was he heavy, medium?
Like medium.
Okay. So green and gray sweatpants and a white t-shirt, and like what color was the beanie hat?
I don't know, it's like gray.
Okay. And how long were his dreads?
Like to his shoulder.
Okay, and then so you saw him come running through the yards here, and then
No, I didn't. Well, I seen him go this way.
Okay.
But then I was like, I came in, I was like, holy shit. I grabbed my dog, put him in, shut the front door, and I was like, oh shit, my back door's open. So I seen him go this way. So I was like, came out to the porch here, and I seen him come through here and run this way.
Okay.
Towards that third and Lake.
Okay.
So
you were about 5 or 6 feet from him?
I was like,
Okay. And then, were you talking with the cops when he?
no. The cops weren't even here yet. I saw the whole crash and the car roll. The cops weren't even.
At some point, did you see this guy again with the police or the?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you tell one of the cops that that was the guy that you saw?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And he was, I was like, well, he got a limp because he was holding his leg and he was limping.
Okay.
And I was like, well, when I was in the back of the cop car, I was like, well, can you like make me walk by me or something so I can be positive? And so they were like holding him up, but his leg kept giving on. I was like, yeah, that must be him, yeah.
Okay.
He had like a cut on his forehead.
Same clothes as the person you saw running? Okay. All right. I appreciate it.
Members of the jury, I expect you'll hear some argument in a few minutes about that beanie cap. So I want to address that directly. So when you look through the evidence, and I would submit to you that maybe the ambulance video is the best view to get all the details of what Mr. Thompson looked like that night. But you've also got video and evidence of him limping in the dark. The way that his dreads are twisted down against his head and then loose at his neck, I would submit to you, members of the jury, is in the dark to a witness consistent with someone who has a hat with hair coming out. And if you watch that video, as she describes it, she actually does this with her hands. And that is completely consistent with the way his hair is styled, and it is reasonable under these circumstances to have perceived that as a hat holding down his hair and then having it loose at the neck. The defendant's injury, in this case, the specific injury, the fractured acetabulum, that's the concave part of the pelvis on the right side. Because in that 1 second before the crash, he moves his foot and he's jamming it against the brake. And that's where his foot is extended out as the crash occurs. That injury to his right side of his pelvis is wholly consistent with that. Another thing to note, that injury, the difficulty he has moving around, that is entirely inconsistent with someone who's in a different seat of the vehicle climbing to get out the driver's door. He can barely sit down and stand up from the squad car. He is absolutely not crawling over the center console of the Escalade with airbags deployed, which limit the space even further. The DNA in this case, we've got a rental car here. We've got mixtures, as we so often do. On the driver's door, it is more than 100 billion times more likely that Derrick Thompson is included in that mixture than if he is not included in that mixture. DeMarco Thompson, moderate support with the DNA. I'd ask you to consider, however, members of the jury, Derrick and DeMarco Thompson are brothers, and family members share characteristics of DNA.
Objection.
Sustained.
It's also possible that if some amount of DeMarco's DNA is included in that mixture, it's from when they were looking at the cars together. The much higher likelihood ratio for Derrick Thompson is also most consistent with him being the last person to have touched that. There's a major male profile on that bag. There's a major male profile item B in that bag. And then there's a mixture from which Derrick Thompson cannot be excluded from item C with a high likelihood ratio. DNA is tricky. It's one of those things that we think is going to be, sort of the conclusive evidence of a particular thing, but DNA can't ever tell the whole story. So when y'all pass that microphone around during jury selection, each of you touched it. There's probably a mixture of DNA on it. If we swabbed it, we'd almost certainly get a mixture. Some of you would be included. There would be some likelihood ratio. It wouldn't tell us when or why. The other evidence in the case has to tell us that. As you heard in this case, transfer is possible with DNA. But what's something that doesn't transfer? Fingerprints. You don't wipe somebody's fingerprint up off something and deposit it down on another surface. And in this case, the fingerprints show that his right index finger is on the center of the dash, and his right ring finger is on the screen of the iPhone, plugged into the center console in the cup holder. Are those two things consistent with someone in the driver's seat, in addition to all the other evidence? You can, of course, consider all the things he did after the crash. The attempt to flee, the attempt to conceal himself through a route around the alley and then to blend in with those people sitting at the Taco Bell parking lot. The lies he's telling about his injuries and the attempts he's making to deflect attention, yelling at the witness, it was not me. Those things are what we often call consciousness of guilt. Those lies and attempts at misdirection are indicative of what he knows. You can also consider that recorded call you heard yesterday on the day that he's charged in this case. He's indicating to the other person, I want those blood results to come back to show I was sober. Well, why would that matter if you weren't the driver? It was several days ago now, but the first witness in this case was Kenitra Walker. She testified that he said he was driving. That, members of the jury, is direct evidence of that fact. A witness telling you that he admitted it. A little bit harder to forget because it was more recent, was yesterday. Marco Thompson. The only other person who ever touched that Escalade from Hertz on. DeMarco Thompson stated clearly and under oath that he never drove that car. He testified that the two of them drove a short distance from the airport. They stopped, and Derrick transferred some possessions from the Challenger into the Escalade and drove away alone in the Escalade. Members of the jury, his testimony is direct evidence of what he testified to, but there's also corroborating evidence of it in this case. So the timing, the distance from that airport location to the crash and the time it took, that's consistent with a short stop to transfer personal items. The testimony and statement of Dorinda Pacheco, she sees the entire crash. She sees him get out of the vehicle. She only sees one person. And the defendant's own words. And he's in the back of Officer Damon's car. He's using her phone, and Kenitra asks, "Where's my car?" And he says, "My brother." That is consistent with and corroborates what DeMarco told you about where he was in the vehicle he had. So as I said, if he is the driver, there is no question he is guilty of criminal vehicular homicide. There's 2 alternative counts of criminal vehicular homicide. He is guilty of both iterations of criminal vehicular homicide as to each one of these young ladies. So counts 2, 5, 8, 11, and 14. Grossly negligent driving. Don't rely on my shortened summary of the law. You should rely on the instructions that the judge gave you. I just wanted to have it a bit shorter for the purposes of discussing it here. The victim's death must be proven. As to each one of these young ladies, their death was proven. The defendant caused the victim's death. That's quite clear as well. And the conclusion of that crash reconstruction indicated it also. The defendant caused the death while driving in a grossly negligent manner. So that's the aspect of this that makes this charge different from the others. Grossly negligent manner. Members of the jury, any one of the things that he was doing is grossly negligent. Trying to get away from that trooper over 100 miles an hour, even on the interstate, but much less on a city street, on an exit ramp, 20-mile-an-hour area. And then flying into the intersection against a red light. Any one of those things would be grossly negligent. The combination, it's overwhelming. As to counts 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So once again, for each individual who was killed, their death must be proven. Once again, his actions caused the death. He did so while driving. The defendant knew or believed there was an injury. You've seen the videos, you've seen the photos, you've seen the way other people reacted at the scene. There is absolutely no doubt that anyone involved in this would have known or believed that there was an injury. The fifth element is alternative. Either the defendant failed to stop and reasonably investigate what had happened, or he failed to give notice to law enforcement. Both of these things are true. You as a jury do not have to agree on which, if you all agree that this element is proven. But I would submit to you that both are quite abundantly true here. And finally, the date and the venue, as we call it, the jurisdiction. So the date you've heard a number of times in this case, happening within Hennepin County here in Minneapolis. That's what makes you the right jury and this the right courtroom for the case. All right, so as to third degree murder. 1, 4, 7, 10, and 13. One for each young lady. The elements are pretty straightforward, and they're for you to apply the facts to this law. The victim died. The defendant caused the death of the victim like the other charges. Third is the defendant's act that caused the death was eminently dangerous to others, but not directed at a specific person. As I'm sure you can guess by the name of the charge, there are different types of murder under the law. Third degree murder is the commission of an eminently dangerous act that's not directed at or intended to kill anybody. So what is eminently dangerous? What does that mean? Well, that's defined by the judge, and it's for you to consider and determine whether the facts fit that definition. I would suggest to you that eminently dangerous in the context of driving is the kind of driving when you see a vehicle on the road and you go, that guy's gonna kill somebody as they go past you. You know it when you see it. Now, I realize that that's a little mushy. Some of us like to be a little more analytical. So you can also look at the numbers. He's going 95 miles per hour when he passes Trooper Guerra. He is going 116 when he gets off on that exit ramp. And 3 seconds prior to the crash, when he is in that block, between 31st Street and Lake, his foot is 91% of the way down on the accelerator. That's eminently dangerous conduct. Another aspect of the evidence that can help you conclude that the conduct was eminently dangerous is the completely catastrophic result. Not just a car crash, not even just a crash, but as Mr. Paquette said, an explosion. Sergeant Geiger does vehicle crash reconstruction for his job. And this is one of the worst I've ever seen. Trooper Wren describes the vehicle as looking like a can that's been smashed in the middle. You can kind of tell it's a car on the either side, but the center of the vehicle is completely demolished. The injuries to these victims. I'm not going to linger on this, but the medical examiner testified in this case. Her job, day in and day out, is to examine human remains and bodies. That's what she does for a living. Did it appear to you that it was difficult, even for her, to describe the injuries to these victims' bodies? That shows you how extraordinary the force in this case was. It shows you how violent this crash was, and it shows you how eminently dangerous his behavior was. The fourth element is that the defendant was indifferent to the loss of life. So his conduct, the eminently dangerous choices he was making, were made with an indifference to the fact that they could result in somebody losing their life. There are a variety of pieces of evidence, and you, of course, as the fact finders, should discuss with each other what you think supports it. There's the fact that he doesn't even make a cursory check of that other vehicle. He gets out and he's out of there. All the other civilians that are right there are going towards it. The police officers, of course, are going towards it. He has no interest or care about what's just happened, about the other vehicle, about the status of the people in that vehicle. I want to emphasize too, his indifference is shown through his series of choices. So one of the things I said when I was playing the video from MnDOT was note the time. It's about 10:09 when he crosses 50th, and it's 10:11 when the crash occurs. That's 2 minutes. Sit and look at the clock for 2 minutes. All those moments. And in each one, he continues to make the worst and most dangerous possible choice. That is indifference. This isn't just somebody who, is passing on a country road and accelerates to get around a car momentarily. This isn't a momentary kind of lapse in attention or drift out of the lane. This is 2 minutes of choice after choice. Every car he passes, every intersection, every choice he makes. That's indifference. It's indifference to all the people around him, the people on the road, the people on foot. Consider also that there is no change when he exits the interstate. He is flooring it, 160 miles an hour. Past that 31st Street intersection, he's got his foot 91% of the way down on the accelerator. I think we all know that it's one thing to speed on the interstate. Most people have probably done it. It is a wholly different thing to get off the interstate at 116 miles an hour and continue to accelerate and continue at that speed in a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit road in the city with stoplights, with crosswalks, with bus stops. So yeah, he's driving recklessly fast on the interstate. But the dangerousness of what he's doing and the indifference that he is showing once he gets off the interstate is quantifiably higher than it was before. And he doesn't bother to even touch the brake until he is virtually in that intersection. He is past those parking lots just prior to the Lake Street intersection when you see that brake light come on. He is basically in the intersection before he, for the first time, slows down. Members of the jury, he does not slow down because he doesn't care. That's what indifference means. He wanted to drive fast in the Escalade on I-35. He wanted to not be pulled over by the trooper. He didn't want his Friday night ruined. And once it was crystal clear that he was caught, that his Friday night was ruined, what are the first words out of his mouth? Can I get some medical attention? This wasn't just a car accident. This wasn't a momentary lapse in attention by a driver. This wasn't even somebody who is driving high and, you know, maybe their response times are a little bit lower. This isn't just speeding 5 or 10 over the speed limit. This conduct was not there but for the grace of God, go anyone. Under the laws of the state of Minnesota, this was murder. It was murder in the 3rd degree. Because Derrick Thompson was not just negligent or inattentive. He didn't just make a mistake. Over the course of at least 2 minutes, he made the criminally reckless choices to drive the way he did both on the interstate and off. And when he got out of the Escalade, he saw that. Just like when he got off the interstate, nothing changed. Derrick Thompson only cared about Derrick Thompson. And he worried about getting away, not anybody else. That is indifference to human life, members of the jury. His conduct, both before and after, are those circumstances that help you determine what his state of mind was, and it was indifference. This was murder in the 3rd degree, and the state of Minnesota asks you to find him guilty of each and every count.
Thank you, Ms. Starkey. We're going to take our morning break at this time.
Alrighty, so we are going to get into the defense closing arguments, which is about, 40 minutes, and then we get into the verdict. So just about another hour. It's a long one, but I didn't want to stop it in between closings or before the verdict. All right, here we go.
Mr. Bliss?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Court, counsel, Mr. Thompson, members of the jury. Whenever I start one of these, I want to say how deeply grateful we are for your attentiveness and the work you've put in so far. It's been a long 2 weeks, and you've all sacrificed immense amounts to be here. That is not taken for granted. It's been a difficult process for now. I have a chance to present my arguments in the case of Derrick Thompson. And then you will retire with a great and heavy job. This packet of information constitutes the charges, the instructions, and then you will have to make a decision. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the inciting incidents here. Now, in some cases, you end up with small little events that, when seen with 20/20 hindsight, can be of great foreboding. Here, we have this rental receipt. $160 is what Hertz is getting for this vehicle for a week, a $70-some thousand SUV. With taxes total out of pocket for Mr. Thompson, it's $250. Hamburger prices, and you're getting a steak. Now, evidence showed from Kenitra that this was really her car. When you listen to her, the call, she says, in the squad car, she says, "Baby, where's my car?" And Mr. Thompson says, "Your car, oh, my brother." That, I submit, gives you an idea of what is happening with this vehicle. There's this shared car. It's mostly the girlfriend's car. It's owned by my client's mother. But they've rented a car, and they paid for a sedan, and they're given a 6,000-pound luxury executive car they're fully unfamiliar with. It's this moment, right as this is coming in, fresh from being cleaned, ready to go. Mr. Thompson appears and is going to select his car. It appears it's the 5-star Hertz lane. It may be a different class, but it's the pick your car lane. If this were in a movie, you'd have the realization that things were going to go wrong, because why else would this be here? Now, meanwhile, we have DeMarco Thompson there, swinging those keys around. It's really important that you look closely at those keys. These words on that little wooden flap, this key hanging there, whatever this piece of black plastic is underneath, and him swinging it like this, going back and forth. This evidence has been in here from day one. Still, the state refuses to even acknowledge the clear evidence in this case that there are 2 people in the car. And I think this is a good time to get into credibility of witnesses. Sergeant Dave Ligneal got on the stand and said the distance between this airport Hertz rent-a-car and the accident scene was between 12 and 14 miles. And it just so happened the odometer on this car said 13 miles. Now, the next day he got up on the stand and said, "Oh no, I MapQuested it. And I did that in October, and it was 10.7 miles. What that shows you is that when Dave Lignale has a reason to tell an affirmative falsehood, he does so. And he did so to you, and he did so on the issues of most importance of this case. Those are those keys. And the state has never acknowledged it and never conducted the basic investigation that would be required in this case. There's an old Latin phrase that is falsus in unum, falsus in omnibus. False in one thing, false in everything. It's a little bit like Cicero's fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And throughout Dave Lignale's testimony, you could feel that. The credibility of the head of this investigation, person detailed with the FBI, working for the Minneapolis police as well, is always like, well, I don't know, maybe. And then until he can be nailed down on something, he won't move. Think about that when he gave sworn testimony in October, right around the time he's Googling or map questing or going on GeoCities for the 10.7 miles. But he gave testimony at that point that he thought it was 50-50 whether or not DeMarco Thompson was in that vehicle. 50-50. And this is the guy who's telling affirmative falsehoods, who's prevaricating about the basic fact of the distance between the rental and the scene of the crime. Now, the next credibility is the credibility of this man, DeMarco Thompson. Person with one of the most strong motives to give self-serving testimony I've ever encountered in a case. Who on earth would want to be associated with this situation? He gives what my grandfather would call a cockamamie story about the hat ends up in the car because after they leave, his brother wants to get the hat. Now, Dave Lignale, and we'll see the phone calls later, testified to all the phone calls that happened in that Escalade. There are no phone calls between DeMarco Thompson and Derrick Thompson. What are these people doing, flagging each other down on the freeway? They are not. They have cell phones. Their cell phones found in the car, and DeMarco Thompson testified that he had a cell phone with him.
Objection. Ms. States the evidence.
Overruled. But remember, you are to rely on your recollection of what you see and hear in the evidence.
Now, it's been testified to at different points that there's just two sets of keys to this Challenger. I assume most people here have a car or have been around a car in the modern era. Almost all cars come with two sets of keys. They're difficult to replace. Those are those keys. And his story about Derrick Thompson having the other set of keys is fully inconsistent with the prior testimony of Kenitra. It's nonsense, it's inconsistent, it is not credible. And so it goes. They leave together. And we get to the first major blind spot in this case. There's this 10.7 mile stretch. It's maybe 6 miles before we get anything on video. And the arrogance and apathy of Sergeant Lignale led to us knowing nothing about this period. But that's where the jury instructions come in. And these jury instructions are a foundational portion of the American criminal justice system. They are what have been established to help balance out the individual here, presumed innocent, and the state with its many lawyers and its many resources, its police officers, its ability to contact federal officials, state officials. And so I think this is a good place to discuss the framework of your job. The state has accused Derrick Thompson of many crimes. The law of this country and this state say that the government, having accused someone of a crime, bears the sole burden of proving each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. And they have to do this despite the presumption of innocence. It is your job to make that presumption of innocence not a hollow promise, not a forgotten part of the past, but a fundamental framework of what citizenry means in America. And it requires some mental gymnastics. It requires you to put the state to its burden by looking at Derrick Thompson, presuming his innocence, and saying, he didn't do this. Let's see the proof. Did they prove it? And to what degree did they prove it? Now, this comes the next vital portion of our constitutional rights when the government has accused us of crimes. They must prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. My client bears none of that burden. They have to prove it beyond any doubt based on reason. You were selected because you're reasonable people. And if you have any doubt it's based on reason, my client is not guilty. Now, these standards of proof are, I think, easiest to understand if we talk about them in the various levels of proof that we have in courthouses. The lowest is called reasonable suspicion.
Objection, improper argument about the law that the jury is not heard.
Overruled.
Reasonable suspicion is a police officer sees someone in a suspicious manner, slumped over in a doorway at 3 a.m., looking dangerous, and they can frisk them down. That is our lowest level of proof. It's basic safety checks. Then you start to talk about money. You're suing someone back and forth. It's a preponderance of the evidence. If you get to 51.1%, it's more likely than not you get the verdict in your favor. Those are important issues. That's how lawsuits are settled. But then you get to the next higher level, clear and convincing evidence. Clear and convincing evidence is the sort of evidence that we use in child custody matters, decisions related to living wills, issues related to life support. These are very important issues, but they are not the most important issues. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest level of proof required under the law. The proof must convince you beyond a reasonable doubt, so you have no doubt left of the truth of the allegation that is based on reason. And again, we are entitled to the presumption of innocence, especially if the state hasn't carried its burden. And with that in mind, I want to go into this blind spot, this few miles, and talk about the most likely chain of events based on reason that led to this tragedy. We have these two young men who showed up to Hertz, again, having paid hamburger prices for a steak. He's got these keys. Those keys are found in the car. There's no other way this case makes sense unless he is in that car. The state hasn't even bothered to test those keys, hasn't even bothered to find the car to see if they go to the Challenger. The case hasn't, the state doesn't even bother to reassess the Escalade with this in mind, which Officer Lignale testified. He was 50-50, probably, preponderance of the evidence is described, that DeMarco Thompson was in this car. And let's just talk about how that changes this inexplicable situation described by the state into something, while tragic, and I will submit, while reckless, is not murder. So, here we have them again, exiting the Hertz rent-a-car. The most likely avenue to go, and you can use your reason and common sense, is on a freeway. There's stops off a freeway in between these two locations. Again, we end up in the crash with the hat, the keys in there. They're together. There's no calls between Derrick and DeMarco. They are in the car together. And then, in the most blinded version of it failing to see what it means is different if there are two people in the car, the state introduced this as damning evidence. Now, what is this someone talking to their mom about? He was with me. This shit is crazy, Ma. Ma, could you please help me figure this out? Like, just me hearing anything would make me feel better. This isn't someone saying that, oh, I dropped my brother off right before this happened. Why didn't he get in this horrible car accident with me? It's nonsensical to think that. You wouldn't say that to your mother. What he's saying is, why did he even get fucking dropped off? Like, why did we meet up earlier and why did this whole thing happen? We were gonna go rent a car. We got this really fancy car. And this all happened. That is what that shows, and it shows compelling evidence that he was with DeMarco Thompson. So now, we're at driving 6235W, 6,000-pound executive SUV. The kind of thing that you see people being driven around in on television shows when business people in the back want to talk quietly and not be disturbed. It's designed to be extraordinarily powerful. It's designed to be quiet and insulated from the outside world.
Objection, facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
And you can use your common sense and reason based on what a Cadillac is. It's the Cadillac of whatever, to determine that that is what the likely situation inside that vehicle was. You know, brand new luxury cars based on your reason and your common sense contain all sorts of positive traction, slip differentials, whatever modern conveniences could be there. Adaptive cruise control, lane steering you're not used to. Modern cars do things they didn't do before, and a great big new one is a thing that's very unfamiliar. Now, Mr. Paquette at one point, when discussing the vehicle, stated, great big vehicles you need a special license for. And maybe that is what the policy should be, but that was an ordinary passenger vehicle that was 6,000 pounds, and they just handed it to him after he'd rented a sedan. And this goes into the state of mind. And that's what I propose to you is the most profound blind spot in the state's vision when they fail to investigate, when they fail to see what it means for there to be two people in this car. Because it's Friday night, it's just after 9:30, you're young and sober and headed downtown. You got the hottest ride in town. And you're talking, you're laughing, you have Kenitra on the phone who says, or saying in a phone call she heard they were listening to loud music. Picture it. Use your reason and common sense. This isn't heartless driving. This is young, excited, reckless men. That doesn't mean you have to find it acceptable. It doesn't mean it's not reckless. So then they've entered the 94 corridor and we start to see the video. The officer testified, the accident reconstructionist testified that during this period there was an average rate of 94 miles an hour. It appears to be fairly consistent through here. This is where roughly he interacts with the police officer. Now, there's no evidence that he saw the police officer. Go back to State's Exhibit 1. Remember, they put up a picture of a cop car that didn't look anything like this cop car. They put up a picture of a car with an external top headlight system as Exhibit 1 in this case, completely unfounded in fact. And when you look at the videos of Officer Guerra's squad pulling up, you see it's internal. This is just a car following behind. There's no evidence that Mr. Thompson understood or had any idea in that vehicle that it was being followed by a police officer. And so, there. Now we're getting to where the speeds do appear to increase. He's getting over towards an exit, getting closer to downtown. At this point, the police officer, several cars behind, and he takes this exit. Now, at this point, I think it is vital in order to understand this case to watch what happens. Roughly around this period of time is the 116 miles per hour. Oops. If you watch here, this is roughly when brakes are activated. Sorry. Brake lights. And then, as you heard the crash reconstructionist testify to, there's this downslope. And then it flattens out. We talked about momentum. Momentum is this concept that great big heavy objects push really hard and want to keep going the same way they're going. If you've ever taken a hill in a big truck going fast, it bottoms out. And here, where this car, by the time it's slowing down because it's braking and it's trying to get to a normal rate of speed, on that, you have this two unbuckled people in the vehicle. And suddenly you're in the air. This is about 5.5 seconds from the crash itself. 5.5 seconds is an important number to keep in mind, because that's when the car is traveling consistently at the same speed, between 94 and 97 miles an hour, despite this evidence that there is a push down all the way on the accelerator. Now, if you view this as this singular, maniacal, driven person who just wants to cause mayhem and ruin the night and destroy this great vehicle that he's just received, maybe that it could be a possibility. But with these two people who are laughing and joking, having a reckless good time, but not paying attention, and suddenly they're off on this exit, and oh crap, we're in the city. You bottomed out. You're in an unfamiliar vehicle. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You can see the car sort of bob through there. And the crash. It's traveling an average of 94 miles an hour on the freeway to 38. It exits down a graded off-ramp. Appears to bottom out as the grade flattens out. The vehicle maintains 95 to 98 from the time frame of 5.5 to -1. But at 3.5, a sudden but short, heavy press on the gas pedal. And then I think the most important video, which was described by state's witnesses not very good, I think provides some of the most important evidence in the case. But I want to talk about that short jab and how it relates to the bottoming out. You've been braking, you're going down this hill, you hit it, it's an unfamiliar vehicle. You're not buckled in. You're not pushing on that to try to find the gas pedal, you're pushing on that to try and find the brake. If you're trying to gun that car, it would accelerate, but the brief pressing on that at 3.5 seconds, followed by that not being there, that is an attempt to brake. Now here's this video. While searching for the brake pedal, the driver ultimately finds that brake pedal. Now, I want you to watch this carefully. From here to here, from here to here. The brake lights illuminate well before the intersection. If you look at this, there is a brake in the apron of the sidewalk in order to get into the parking lot. The braking happens before that apron. You can look at the dashed lines, you can look at that extended solid white line. That is where that is located. Before entering the intersection, the driver of this vehicle is trying to brake. I submit to you, the recklessness happens here. And that 5.5 seconds is a misguided but earnest effort to try and gain control of this horrible situation that's been created. Now, I want to talk to you about the elements of this crime and what the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. The definition of depraved mind murder is, under Minnesota law, whoever causes the death of another person by perpetrating an act imminently dangerous to others without regard to human life, but without intent to cause the death of any person is guilty of a crime. That is a regard for human life. Negative 3.5 seconds trying to jab on that brake, that is regard for human life. This is reckless driving. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And what you see here, if you aren't haunted by, I don't think you've been paying attention. Cars are immensely dangerous. We take out 6,000-pound things and drive them around at great speeds. This is recklessness, though. This isn't a depraved act. This is not acting with indifference to life. This is recklessness, a realization of the mistake, and an inability to resolve from that mistake. Because of that, whoever's driving this vehicle is not guilty of any of the murder charges here. But now I want to get into the investigation and what it means for everything else. Now, I will submit to you that almost every police officer presented who was an initial responder to this event was acting in good faith under enormous burdens and hardships. I think it is important to value how difficult the jobs are here and seeing what's happening and hearing this shots fired call, thinking, you don't know what you're thinking. Is this like an intentional shooting? Is there more going on? Is this a terroristic act? Like, what is going on? But that doesn't absolve an hour later when you have Sergeant McNeil just finding the things to lock down the suspect and shutting down the investigation. He's known for 7 months that he thinks that DeMarco Thompson, 50-50 at least, is in the car. And they haven't done anything to investigate that. And this is where the burdens of proof in a case become important. You aren't to consider things outside of these instructions. A vote of not guilty on a count is simply a statement that the state hasn't met its burden of proof and is required under the law. And ladies and gentlemen, we have to ask more of our government. We have to ask more of the agents who get up and testify and lie to the faces of jurors. The state has simply not investigated the case. The state simply has not eliminated doubt as to the guilt of Derrick Thompson as the driver of this vehicle. This car rolls twice and spins around. Officer Lignell, in his cuter than half testimony, acted like he didn't even know if the car spun around. And yet he's the head case agent for this entire thing. It's an outrage. And my client should be found not guilty of all charges. But no matter what, whoever is driving that car was not acting in a depraved way. Whoever is driving that car was a knucklehead and a danger and a reckless person. But ladies and gentlemen, they simply were not acting with a depraved mind. They were not acting without regard to human life. They were trying to stop They were frail. They were not indifferent to the loss of life. You must return not guilty verdicts on the murder charges. Thank you.
Ms. Starkey, rebuttal?
Because the state bears the burden of proof in this case, I have the opportunity to respond. I know that you have been listening to people talk all morning, so I will keep it brief. A couple of things I would like to address up front. Mr. Bliss just referred to Dave Ligneal as a liar, indicated that when he had the opportunity, he told an affirmative falsehood to you on the stand. You are the judges of facts in this case. There is only one person who very clearly was lying repeatedly in this case, was telling affirmative falsehoods, and was attempting to get away with murder. And that's Derrick Thompson. The notion that the state has never acknowledged the keys from the challenger this is a state's exhibit. It was placed into evidence by my colleague and the witness that was on the stand to process the vehicle. This is not a movie. Not at all. This is an exercise in attempted distraction.
Objection, burden shifting.
Sustained. You're to disregard that last statement.
You are not here to make an emotional decision. You are here to consider the facts and apply the law to those facts. And shouting and stomping of feet doesn't change that. The purpose of this investigation was to establish who was driving. Because the person who was driving spent 2 full minutes making a series of reckless and destructive choices that showed no regard for the other people on the road or the people in that busy area around Lake Street. Look at the evidence. Look at it carefully and discuss it together. A reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and common sense. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is not a fanciful or, proof beyond a reasonable doubt is not a mystical standard. It's not mysterious. It's the same burden of proof that applies in every criminal case, in every courthouse in this country, from murder to parking tickets.
Objection.
Overruled.
A reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and common sense. So is it reasonable and consistent with your common sense that this was nothing more than a, quote, reckless good time? Is it reasonable and consistent with your common sense that this defendant doesn't know the difference between a brake and a gas pedal? There was no evidence that this vehicle was unfamiliar. He selected it. That's what the evidence was. There is no evidence that they were going downtown. Most importantly, there's no evidence that anyone besides Derrick Thompson was ever driving the Escalade. And that's what the question is. And that is what the investigation sought to determine. So is it reasonable and consistent with your common sense, based on the evidence in this case, that the defendant made, quote, an earnest effort to gain control of this horrible situation that's been created? Is that what the evidence shows? Is it reasonable and consistent with your common sense that anybody else was driving? And is it reasonable and consistent with your common sense that any of his conduct, either before or after, shows anything less than indifference to anybody besides Derrick Thompson? And if it's not reasonable and consistent with your common sense, it's because he's guilty. And we would ask that you find him so.
All right, so I just have to change the slide quickly and hit play because the thumbnail actually gives, oh, and I screwed it up. Give me 1 second. Crap. Come on. There we go. Okay, so let me All right, and if you haven't voted in the poll, please do so because I'm going to end it. I'll give about 20 seconds and then I'm going to end the poll. Right now, we are at 100% guilty, 0% not guilty. All right, so let me, there we go. Just wanted to get rid of the thumbnail.
The actions until after all the verdicts are read and the proceedings have concluded. Mr. Thompson, please rise. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, murder while perpetrating an eminently dangerous act and being indifferent to the loss of life in the death of Sarah Gasade, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, criminal vehicular homicide for operating a motor vehicle in a grossly negligent manner in the death of Sarah Gasade, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, criminal vehicular homicide for causing a collision and leaving the scene in the death of Sarah Gasade, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 4, murder while perpetrating an eminently dangerous act and being indifferent to the loss of life in the death of Siham Odawa, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 5, criminal vehicular homicide for operating a motor vehicle in a grossly negligent manner in the death of Siham Odawa, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 6, criminal vehicular homicide for causing a collision and leaving the scene in the death of Siham Odawa, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 7, murder while perpetrating an eminently dangerous act and being indifferent to the loss of life in the death of Salma Abdikadir, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 8, criminal vehicular homicide for operating a motor vehicle in a grossly negligent manner in the death of Salma Abdikadir, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 9, criminal vehicular homicide for causing a collision and leaving the scene in the death of Salma Abdikadir, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 10, murder while perpetrating an eminently dangerous act and being indifferent to the loss of life in the death of Sagal Hersey, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 11, criminal vehicular homicide for operating a motor vehicle in a grossly negligent manner in the death of Sagal Hersey, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 12, criminal vehicular homicide for causing a collision and leaving the scene in the death of Sagal Hersey, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 13, murder while perpetrating an eminently dangerous act and being indifferent to the loss of life in the death of Sabreen Ali, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 14, criminal vehicular homicide for operating a motor vehicle in a grossly negligent manner in the death of Sabreen Ali, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 15, criminal vehicular homicide for causing a collision and leaving the scene in the death of Sabreen Ali, find the defendant guilty. Members of the jury, because you found the defendant guilty of the charged offenses, you have additional issues to determine. The parties have the opportunity to present evidence and then we'll argue the additional issues to you. The issues will be put to you in the form of a verdict form. I will read that form to you now. It has the following questions. And you can be seated, Mr. Thompson. At the time of these offenses, did the defendant have a prior felony conviction for an offense in which the victim was injured? Yes or no? 2, did the defendant fail to render aid to the victims or alert medical personnel before fleeing the scene? Yes or no? Was the defendant weaving between cars on I-35? Yes or no? Was the defendant driving at a speed of over 110 miles an hour at the time he exited I-35W at the Lake Street exit? Yes or no? Was the speed limit on I-35W at the exit to Lake Street 55 miles an hour? Yes or no? Was the defendant driving evasively to avoid being pulled over by the state trooper? Yes or no? Was the defendant driving at a speed between 75 to 85 miles an hour at the moment of the impact? Yes or no? Was the speed limit on the street the defendant was driving on at the moment of the collision 20 miles an hour? Yes or no? Was the speed limit on 2nd Avenue clearly posted between the Lake Street exit from I-35W and the Lake Street intersection? Yes or no? At any point, did the defendant press the accelerator pedal down over 90% as he was driving on 2nd Avenue? Yes or no? Did the defendant drive through a red light at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Lake Street? Yes or no? At the time of the collision, was the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Lake Street busy with pedestrians and other car traffic? Yes or no? And then a place for the form and signature and date. For each question, if you unanimously find that the fact has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the answer is yes. Otherwise, you must answer no. As you know from the previous instructions, proof beyond a reasonable doubt is such proof as ordinarily prudent people would act upon in their most important affairs. A reasonable doubt is a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It does not mean beyond all possibility of doubt. And you should take consideration on each question separately from all the others. So before I excuse you back to the jury room with the verdict form, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hanneman.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the state offers Exhibit 190.
No objection.
Exhibit 190 is received. Are you asking to publish?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Sorry. Let me know when you're ready to publish.
Sorry, there's some glitch on the last.
Mr. Hanneman, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the jury, thank you for your service so far. We just have a few more questions to ask you to help us zero in on some of the facts here. The first question that you have here is, at the time of this offense, did the defendant have a prior felony conviction for an offense in which a victim was injured? So you have Exhibit 190. All of the other evidence that you've been presented so far in this trial is available to you as you answer these questions. The only additional piece of evidence is this Exhibit 190. What you're going to see if you examine that document is actually several court documents pieced together. The first page you're going to see is a criminal complaint filed against the defendant, Derrick Thompson, in Santa Barbara County, California in 2018, related to several crimes. Count 2 of that crime you'll see is that the defendant was charged with evading an officer causing injury, a felony committed by Derrick Thompson by operating a motor vehicle with intent to evade, flee, or otherwise attempt to elude a pursuing peace officer's motor vehicle, and then additional conditions existed, and then a special allegation that the victim there suffered great bodily injury as a result of that. There's an additional count on that complaint as well, count 3. That is a similar count, but slightly different. He was charged there with leaving the scene of an accident that resulted in death or serious permanent injury in violation of that statute in California. As to those charges, you'll see as you go through Exhibit 190 and see later pages, you'll find a plea petition. So you'll see that the defendant pled guilty to those two charges specifically. And in pleading guilty to that, he provided this factual basis to the court. That on September 4th of 2018, he did willfully and recklessly drive a motor vehicle fleeing from law enforcement officers with activated lights and siren with reckless disregard to public safety. While fleeing law enforcement was pursuing me, I recklessly struck a pedestrian, personally inflicting permanent brain damage and causing her to be in a coma for over 2 weeks. I also did willfully and intentionally flee from the scene of the collision in order to escape liability for his actions. And then finally, you'll see a judgment attached to those documents indicating that he was ultimately convicted of those two offenses. Based on that evidence, Exhibit 190, we would ask you to find that the answer to the first question here is yes. The second question is very similar to one that you've already answered with regard to your criminal vehicular homicide verdict, and that's, did the defendant fail to render aid to the victims or alert medical personnel before fleeing the scene? And again, relying on the evidence that you've heard in the case to show that he did flee from that scene on foot before he was arrested. The rest of these questions are all going to be related to his driving conduct leading up to the collision. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these questions. I'm just going to ask you to rely on the evidence that you heard from Sergeant Geiger in the crash reconstruction report, Trooper Guerra as he followed the vehicle, and then other officers who testified in this case. And based on those, we're going to ask you to find that the answer to each and every one of these questions is yes. Thank you.
Mr. Bliss?
Briefly, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I would submit to you, as to the question regarding fleeing, the standard is somewhat different than what you've previously found. You found that he had left the scene, not that he had fled the scene. He goes, he sits down past police light and sits down. You have found beyond a reasonable doubt he left the scene, but I'd submit to you he did not flee the scene. Thank you.
Members of the jury, it's the same procedure as we had yesterday when you first retired to deliberate. You'll go with the deputy into the jury room. The deputy will then provide you with this verdict form that has the questions that I read to you. You will deliberate until 4:30 today. If you have not reached answers to these questions by 4:30 today, then you would come back Monday at 9 a.m. to continue with your deliberation. When you have reached a verdict on all of these questions, notify the deputy and you will come back to court where they will be read out loud in your presence. All rise.
All right. So guilty on all charges, which I believe the jury got it right. Wow. And I have not been able to find what he was sentenced to in the federal case. It just, all the articles I'm finding have to do with him being found guilty. Let me see what this article is. Because then I was like, well, maybe they're going to sentence him all the same, but that doesn't make sense. Let's see. Yeah, they're just saying that a federal jury found him guilty in October 2024. And it just says he will be sentenced at a later date, and then there's no updates on what he was sentenced to. So, don't know. But thanks so much for hanging out. I know it's a little bit longer than my usual 2 hours, but we did get it done within 3 hours. And I think it's because I sped up the defense. I probably should have sped up the prosecution as well. She talked a little bit slow, but I wanted to make sure that the video that she showed was in real time, not, sped up. So tomorrow I did already schedule part 3. That should not be a very long live at all. there is a juror spoke out to media after the verdict was delivered, and there was a press conference with the attorneys, the state attorneys, and the families. So that is, I think it was only about, let's see, watch out, baby. Probably about 35, 40 minutes. So I might do some updates on other cases. I've been actively looking to see if they have been able to locate, oh my God, his name escapes me now. Travis Decker. And they have not. I did see though that they opened up some roads that they had closed at the park. And wait a minute, what is this? How long ago? 3 hours ago. All right. Hold on a second. Oh, this is interesting. Let me share this. Speaking of Travis Decker. My gosh, there's a lot of updates in that case. Apparently he had a dog with him. Where did that article go? Share this instead. So it says, I know I said I was going, but then I squirrel. So it says Travis Decker's dog found as authorities test blood samples taken from pickup truck. This is the first time I have heard of a dog. So it says Travis Decker's dog has been found as authorities continue to search for the man accused of killing his 3 daughters. Decker, 32, is suspected of killing Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, whose bodies were found on June 2nd near the Rock Island campground. Okay, so though Decker was not at the crime scene, authorities did find his pickup truck with a, quote, large amount of evidence inside, including his personal items. Investigators have also since found his dog. The suspect's dog was recovered and turned over to the Humane Society for safe care. Blood samples taken from the scene have come back positive for belonging to a male, and another was not human blood. Further DNA and fingerprint analysis are still being conducted. So, did he like go hunting? That's weird. As of 6 p.m. local time on Sunday, June 8th, the CCSO handed over the search efforts for Travis to federal authorities, but noted they are still leading the criminal investigation. We have reached a point where we need to rest our local resources. Our command staff continues to be engaged with the search command while we give our teams time off to rest and recuperate and be ready to rejoin the search for and capture of the suspect. An attorney for the girl's mother, Whitney Decker, told People on Friday, June 6th, that she believes Decker died by suicide. Everybody cares that Travis is found for peace of mind, if nothing else. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I had no idea about a dog. Yes, Nanny, I did mention that at the start. They were able to get the zebra. Yes, that's what it was. It was a short said flying zebra or something like that. Queen Bella says, I heard he was homeless with a dog. Okay. I hadn't heard that before. So I was kind of like, whoa, where did that come from? all of the articles that I talked about, I had never heard about a dog. So one last thing I'm going to share, and then I'm definitely going to go, is Pookie was able to get a picture of the baby possum who decided to go and live with her, I guess. And it's a little blurry, but you can see him pretty well. He's so freaking cute. So here is the little possum. So Pookie's got a new pet. So thanks everybody for being here. My live tomorrow will be at 4:30 Eastern as normal. As I said, it won't be a very long live, probably an hour at most, just so that we can get through the other 2 videos. Yeah, so have a great rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you may be. And if I don't see you on these YouTube streets, I will see you on the flip side.
You have one shot on stage, what you got to play? Generic drops for days, still the people rage. Am I not insane? Can you stop and explain why these drops are so lame? Is money buying you fame? I'm fucking on, I'm killing it with this song. You haters can sing along or go back where you belong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with giving up, moving on. Cause I took your girl to prom, she can't help but sing this song. Comes off till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high harass, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high harass, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. She's so on like a light switch, flirting back. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's working that. I just want that body bad, come on baby, bring it back. I'm so gone, faded off a 30 rack. She's so on like a light switch, flirting back. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's working that. I just want that body bad, come on baby, bring it back. I rap with a passion, yeah, I got it in me. I've been waiting quite a long time for y'all to hear me. It's about damn time you put some stock into me. You're either sponsoring me or fucking bothering me. And the fact is, we just practice on this madness. That is why your status is like a canvas. Chances our advancement is enhancing. And this new expansion's like a mansion. Comes off till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high harass, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high harass, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse.